I did something that absolutely makes no sense on paper. I threw away the opportunity to have one of the most capable vehicles on the planet. I had a 2020 Suburban, and I traded it for my 2013 Porsche Cayenne. Makes no sense, right? But what happened was I instantly lost all the space, all the utility, and all that throw anything in the back freedom I used to have. So instead of complaining, I'm gonna build something wild, a custom 2-drawer storage solution with a modular top that transformed this little stupid jelly bean of an SUV into a full-on organized hauler. Let me show you how I pulled this off. All right, so here's the situation at the moment. Got a speaker box and a little bit of storage, but not great. You might be wondering why I even traded this thing in the first place. Why would I sacrifice all that? Well, this thing has a manual transmission. It's a rare car and it's a blast to drive. And getting in the car and having fun with it each and every day, well, going to get milk, I think that matters. That needs to be a fun experience. All right, it's Monday night and this camera is glaring in my eyes. But I just cut something on the laser and we're gonna put it back here. Here's the deal. So let's move this. Ooh. I'm gonna take these little parts here and push them up. Now I did some measuring. If I can reach. All right, let's go. I did some measuring earlier. I got a template cut out here on the, oh, are you kidding me? Look at that, it worked. All right, so this template, yeah. Really cool. All right. So that exact same shape that template was made from cardboard is going to translate here onto the CNC. There's going to be also a few grooves cut into it. These are going to be the housings, basically the spaces where I'm going to put the drawers in between, so you can see that there. Anyway, this thing came out pretty nice, but there's one thing I didn't think about was the back seats actually lean back just a little bit. More on that in a second. But before we get too far gone in this project, I'm going to explain to you that this is a follow your nose type build, right? So one of those builds where you just kind of go out there, figure it out, measure a few things, come back into the shop, make it, go back out, measure, lather, rinse, repeat. I think that way of doing something is probably my favorite way of doing it ever. I've never been someone to draw things up in SketchUp, make a bunch of plans for something, make it in Fusion, which I've never used, so why would I? Anyway, I do things like this. I go out, figure it out, come back, and then see what happens. And make adjustments on the fly, which, on the fly, I need to do here very soon. What happened was, like I said before, it didn't fit. Those little tabs you saw me flip up, those hold downs, well, since the seats in the back lean backwards, and this thing is 7 inches tall, yeah, it didn't quite fit. So I have to just kind of make an adjustment, like I said, on the fly using an oscillating tool. You're going to see me, well, I thought I was. I actually used a jigsaw instead. And it worked out well. And honestly, my favorite way of doing it. Just figure it out. So with those necessary adjustments made and a little bit of finagling here, yeah, it fit exactly where I wanted it to on the second try. And sometimes that's all right. Now on to make the drawers, and I'm going to use a very fresh router bit. I actually offer these for sale if you like. They're the best ones around. Link in the description. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to use a fresh router bit here to make these drawers and with these box joints. And I'll explain here why the router bit was fresh. Has to do with the tolerances, but you're going to see after I clean up here, I'm going to put this thing together. I'm just going to use a dead blow. You can use a hammer, mallet, whatever you want. And I'm not using any glue at the moment because I'm doing a dry fit. And the dry fit is so perfect that I'm not going to even need to use glue because I probably can't get this apart, quite frankly. More on this in a second. Okay, break from those drawers. I got to finish some rocking chairs for a client that's coming by. Let's do that. So I made some rocking chairs for some plywood trade shows in months past. Some friends of mine have seen them and they wanted me to make some for them. This is about the 4th set I've made for other people. And so this is a buddy of mine. He's just going to customize it with, somebody's name and then give them to her as a housewarming gift. I'd do this for friends, but would you guys ever want to purchase these rocking chairs? All right, so the chairs are gone, but this is coming out really good. I'm going to give you kind of a Just kind of a raw look. Now there's no glue in these right now. These box joints are just no tolerance, fresh bit, and you can do it. If you run a bit on a CNC for any length of time, your tolerances are going to expand. You need to expand your tolerances to fit box joints like this. But a brand new bit, you can go 0, and they fit together pretty nice. I don't think I'm getting them apart though. I'll tell you that. But yeah, so this is going to have a little bit more than just this ugly facade, and can't wait for you to see it. Now it's on to, well, I'm going to reinforce these joints. Since I'm not going to take them apart and use glue, I am going to take a countersink and go ahead and go all around these box joints and throw in some what they call trim screws. These are low profile screws and they hardly make a dent in the surface. Easy to do. Just going to take my time and go around the entire section of all these drawers and put about 11 screws all up in it. Yeah. So I guess you just can't be too safe. I put a screw in every single one of these joints. I probably didn't need to do that many, but I did. So off to put it to the router. We're going to use a 3/16 of an inch round over bit and round over the bottom. And I'm going to use this electric ray sander from Surf Prep. This thing is absolutely awesome for putting a very fine edge on things. And I really want to just shout them out big time. I love these sanders and they're absolutely incredible. Yo. You know, this little guy seems to make it in every video I'm doing these days. Every week he's around just hanging out in the shop. Such a cool little companion. Again, he was my daughter's birthday present this year, and I think he spends more time out here than he does in the house. So you can see me being frivolous with my screw usage here, and that's hard to say, frivolous with my screw usage. Anyway, these trim screws are fantastic. And I love the fact that these box joints went together with no glue, but I'm a little paranoid, can you tell? Every single joint, man, why not? Yeah, I always do that. Whoever misses with their screw gun like this, my goodness. All right, now it's time to put in these drawer slides, and I've got some cleat material lying around that I'm going to use to raise up the drawer slides at first. I'm going to go ahead and take these things apart for a minute. These are just standard drawer slides. They're not like soft close or anything like that. I mean, come on, it's the back of an SUV. It's not that big a deal, right? Yeah. More on that later. I probably should have used better drawer slides. You'll see why. All right, so it's kind of tough to get the camera inside this drawer to kind of film this properly, but you get the gist of what I'm doing. I've raised those up. Now they're installed to the edges, and then I put down some 1/8" plywood strips to kind of raise up the area that the drawer is going to rest on. I don't want that on the very bottom. I need a little bit of a gap so the drawer slides work properly. Now to install these things, you're going to pull the drawer slides out and you're going to make sure that they're flush with the front of your drawer, just like so. And at this point, you can come back with just one screw on one side, making sure it's still flush, and then the other screw on the other side, the same level of flushness. And then you slowly work your way out. Pull it out just a little bit, and then install one more screw about halfway back. Do the same to the other side. And at this point, now that you have 2 points of contact on both sides, you then can take the drawer, take it out, and then release the mechanism, just like so, and then finish installing all the screws along that drawer slide on the back side as well. Simply place the drawer back in, give it a nice little push, and you should be good. Did that on both sides and they turned out nice. All right, now it's time to take the drawers out because this thing is quite heavy with everything installed. Now, the question would be, you're putting this in the back of a performance automobile, right? Are you adding too much weight? And my answer to that is, I don't care. I want the functionality over it, and who really cares about weight unless you're tracking a car? Trust me, I'm not tracking an SUV, not at all. Anyway, moving back, I've got to figure something else out for something on the top. And I've got this idea of maybe redoing the top of that unit you just saw me put in there. And if I can get this to work, I think I'm going to go with this. So I'm going to go into V-Carve. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and there's going to be a ton of these, well, what do you call them? Little square holes, kind of. And that's going to accept a 3/4 inch piece of plywood that's been cut with a tab that's about 3/4 of an inch as well. So basically I'm just redoing the top portion of basically this holder I'm making for this stupid jelly bean SUV. Anyway, that's what my wife calls it. So we're going to remove the initial top. Again, like I said, follow my nose. I just kind of figured this out. This is the best way to do it. I don't know. Maybe it's a time waste, maybe not. But this process of trying this kind of grid, well, I thought it was going to look pretty ugly. And guess what? It sure does. When it's installed in the car, it looks like, what in the world is going on here? But the functionality that I came up with is, oh, it's awesome. Just wait. All right, so I'm installing it, and it does fit just like a glove like before. And about it being ugly, I'm 100% right. Look how stupid this looks. It's like, what is going on here? But the form over function is definitely something I'm a huge fan of. I am not a style before comfort kind of guy. I am a comfort before style, as you could probably tell. But anyway, back to the functionality of this. You can see these pieces I've cut. Yeah, these little things, they fit into that grid, and they allow you to, you know, put whatever you want, wherever you want it. Good morning. Today's Friday, and I'm putting the final touches on the Cayenne's kind of back compartment organizer thing I'm making here. And looks like the parts are done. Let's go check them out. Yeah, I've already been in here a minute and taken some out. I guess I didn't completely think that you would believe that these were empty. I've already been here. It's my shop. I live here. All right, so after prototyping these pieces, I've nailed down what I think is the final design for the organizational grid. More about what's cut up there in a second. Now, these pieces are, well, they need to be sanded, and I'm doing it on my patent pending. It's not really patent pending. I mean, that's what you say when you don't want anybody to copy your idea, right? You say it's patent pending. I'm not sure if that's legal. Anyway, I'll let you decide. Either way, I'm going to sand these things down on the orbital sander mount, and then to really soften the edges, again, I'm using this little foam electric ray. This thing is so cool. We're going to soften these edges just a little bit, and then put them out in the car. See how it goes. Or jelly bean SUV. Yeah. All right, so this piece here, well, it was made for storage, and I'm going to go ahead and screw it in just with a couple of screws. I'm going to go ahead and use this countersink first. Trim screws all the way. I think I used these all over this project. And this is to store all of these pieces. And as you can see here, they fit in just so. They may be thinking, well, you sure are wasting a lot of storage. No, I'm not. This is what I wanted. I wanted a grid system. I wanted all this to kind of go together. All right, we're going to go to the old grocery store. I'm going to go to my alma mater. I called it the University of Publix. Did a whole career with them, you may have known. But I'm going to go get some precarious items. Things like melons, maybe even a vase or a vase. If you call a vase, be prepared to be punched in the face. Anyway, let's go. So I'm going to recreate like a shopping experience here at the house. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to go film inside other people's retailers like that. Like, I'm not unscrewed in the head, you know what I mean? All right, you've heard an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, right? The moment you go get flowers for someone, you got nowhere to put them in your car, and they're going to spill everywhere. You're going to think you wish you had spent 2.5 weeks building something like this. Yes, look at those melons, not going anywhere. Look at that vase. I swear to you, I didn't measure this. It just worked out. Oh, so cool. Now, when you're done taking all your groceries in, or whatever you need to do, everything could go back in this drawer. Okay, truth be told, I didn't like how this was actually fitting together. I thought I had made the correct measurements on one of the pieces, and I didn't. Let me show you. Okay, so when I was putting these longer pieces in, there's shadows, but yes, but you can see that that was supposed to be long enough to accept, you know, like another one of these, and it doesn't quite fit. So I made a new one, and looks the same, but promise you it's different. So this is essentially the maximum pieces I can put in because the measurements aren't right. So let's install the new one, see what happens. And yeah, look at that. I can actually get extra pieces in there, and I actually measured properly this time. Now, I got to turn my attention to the drawer fronts. Now, they're kind of ugly right now because they're just recessed and you can see the box joints. I I like the box joints, but most people want to cover that thing up with some type of a drawer face or a drawer front. And I've taken the liberty to go ahead and make a very complex method of doing so. I've cut a bunch of pieces on the CNC here, and I've left a little gap. And you can see there's kind of like a window in this kind of oblong shaped box. Now I'm going to make 2 of these, and these are essentially going to be the drawer faces with extra storage. Okay, so along with making these drawers, got a haircut during the middle of this video. Somebody might comment that. I'm just going to go ahead and answer it. Anyway, these drawers are now going to be installed in this car, and here's the process. So you can use playing cards to help you with this, but I've got business cards lying around, so that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to put 2 stacked on top of each other all throughout. I'm going to tape them down. That way they're, they don't move around on me and I get an accurate reading. I'm going to use some carpet tape here, and I'm going to use way too much, by the way. You only need probably like a 2-inch square to probably do this. Hindsight, because I had to remove some of this later on and it wasn't fun. So we're going to push this into the drawer, and it's going to stick, and then I'm going to be able to pull this drawer face out, and out will come the drawer with it, and it does not. And why is that? Well, because I need to put a stopper in the back. I need to loosen these up a little bit, put something to where it won't go back all the way into the back. So, all right, let's try it again. So I've gone back into the shop and I've cut these little pieces of plywood. I was just going to put them somewhere in here, but the happy accident was they were able to wedge right in there. I didn't measure this at all, it just kind of worked out. And now when I push this drawer back, those little pieces allow it not to go all the way back, keeping it proud just a little bit. Now with the carpet tape installed, this should be what I need. The result, does it happen? Yes. It pulls out with it. I'm quickly going to grab it and then go ahead and clamp it in place. And then we're going to attach some screws. If you do this, get your clamps ready. Get them ready to the certain length that you need. Don't fumble around with it like I did. Now we're going to open it all the way, and we're going to screw this in from the backside. No problem whatsoever. This is how you standardly, if that's a word, this is how you would typically install a drawer face. Although this face has extra storage with a window, and it's stacked up plywood. Now I am keeping the plywood edges front and center. I like them, okay? Sue me. But anyway, you can see how this works. Now I'm going to take this one out and remove the business cards because they're getting tangled up, and that looks great. I repeated that same process on the other side. And now once everything goes back inside the drawer for storage, you're going to see the completed look when I shut this up. It is going to look pretty darn cool to me. I want to know what you think. Am I crazy for doing this? Or what do you think? Is it overkill? So, truth be told, one of the issues I'm having with this as I've test-driven it around is that the drawers get heavy, especially when they're loaded up. And even though they have locking mechanisms, the drawers want to come back a little bit when you accelerate. So I've got a key solution. I'm going to try to fix that. Here it goes. So I've got an extra peg piece that I'm going to cut just the peg part off. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. That's what I need. It looks like the Tennessee Volunteer logo. Now that little piece, I'm going to, here we go. Yep. You want to see my hand? No. Come on, amateur. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take a brad point bit, and I'm going to drill down just a little bit, and I'm going to take another one, and I'm going to drill all the way through. I've gone and raided my wife's hardware collection, and I've come across some of these brass screws. I'm either going to use this one or the other one. I'm not really sure what's going to work the best. These might not be exactly what I need in terms of how long they are. But I realized that the plywood was starting to crack a little bit, so I just put a clamp on it and then tightened it through, and it was fine. Didn't need any glue or anything. But the idea is that, yeah, I had to use the other hardware. I did that off camera. But the idea is that this little peg is going to go right through, and then I'm going to need to drill a hole in the edge of this plywood. Once I've drilled that hole, I then can install that little T-bracket with that brass piece, and now that's a lock, kind of like a little peg in a hole. Easy, right? I mean, sometimes, like I said, follow your nose. Yes, it always knows. I have diapers in the car, okay? We got kids. And so here you go. That's the look of it for now. It's going to change next week, but you can see I'm just storing a few chemicals right now. But you get groceries, you go buy some flowers, you do whatever. Not only do you have a bunch of storage, but you have the capability to hold things very secure in the back of this car, and it is fantastic. As for the subwoofer, I'm a Gen Xer. I started driving in the 90s. And this isn't 100% finished. And yes, this vehicle can haul about 7,700 pounds, thank you. So thanks for tuning in to this one. This one isn't finished, actually. This week, coming up, I'm gonna take some jet black stain and I'm gonna make this thing as black as possible. And yes, even inside those little nooks and crannies, the drawers, everything, it's gonna really tie it together. So stay tuned next week for this update and along with whatever else I'm gonna be making. Thank you so much for joining me for this one, guys. I really appreciate you being here. What do you think of this? Let me know. See ya.